if you were to rank the Big 12's best football programs right now, how would you rank the top three? And I am asking for best football program. I'm not asking for who will have the best team this year. I'm not asking for who had the best team last year. I am asking for who has the best Big 12 football program right now. So if you wanted to know my criteria for this, I took it as, all right, first of all, what's your next 1 to 2 year outlook? So yes, a factor is, what do I think you're going to be this year? What do I think you'll be next year? Then I'm going to roll it back 5 to 10 years and say, what is the last 5 to 10 years? Like, what's that consistency been like with your program? I looked at what is the caliber of your head coach, okay, which obviously will play a role in how much I think you can win over the next decade. Then I looked at NIL support, obviously very important, albeit maybe a little bit less in a house sharing, in a house settlement revenue sharing world. And then one category I just kind of lumped in is like other, tradition, location. There can be some other things that help, but probably not as much as any of those that I listed in like a singular category. I'm going to show you a tweet here that I think exemplifies why this is so tough, why this is a really difficult exercise. And I tried to get all of you to answer this. I got a ton of answers and they were all over the board, as you might expect. But let's read this from Christian. Christian says, my genuine take is that there is a 16-way tie for both first and last place. Which I was like, yes, I do think that's a bit of an exaggeration, a bit hyperbolic, obviously, which is the point here. But that's why it is difficult. Like, I had such a hard time picking a top five, man. I had such a hard time picking a top five. Going to be I'm sorry about that, guys. I can already see somebody in the comments who is going to be upset about the rankings here, because I've got 7 for you. I did 2 outside looking in, like receiving votes, whatever you want to say, and then a top 5. All right. So let's get right to it. 2 that I did not include in the top 5 that very easily could have been and are going to probably shock and anger some of you. First of all, Arizona State. Did not put Arizona State in the top 5 because, again, I said football program, all those factors that I just listed out there. This is one. Arizona State with another, I'd say 9+ win season will vault to number 1. I think they would go to number 1. So there is a bunch of upward mobility here, but I just need to see another year. I mean, it's so early in the Kenny Dillingham era. Phenomenal what he did, but he's life without Cam Scattaboo begins now. Okay. Was that all about having a generational player? I don't think so, but I do need to see Kenny Dillingham go prove it again. He is still, at the end of the day, a 34-year-old head coach. Maybe he's turned 35 now. He's like a year younger than me, if that gives some context for you. I just need to see more. I need to see more of a track record there. But, I mean, he took the team from last to winning the Big 12, damn near beating Texas in the playoff, and that's with a roster of guys who are not crazy 5-star talented dudes. And if he does have another successful year, and it looks like he's going to be able to do this year in, year out, well, now you've got a 34-year-old dynamo who's cut perfectly to be a coach in this era of college football. You can see how there's so much upward mobility there. But for right now, I've got to respect that 5 to 10 year thing a little bit more for some of these other programs. Also on the outside looking in, I've got BYU just outside the top 5. And it is kind of the same as Arizona State, where, yes, I know Kalani Sitake had a couple double-digit win seasons before he got to the Big 12, but I don't value them as much, being that they came in the independent era, especially the COVID year, because that was so wonky and bizarre. So many weird things happened that year. I need to see Kalani Sitake do it again. But if he does back it up with a 9+ win season this year, then again, you're talking about someone who could shoot way up to the 1 or 2 spot, depending on what Arizona State does. Because now we're talking about, all right, back-to-back big-time seasons, pretty good NIL support. We know it's phenomenal for basketball. I know there's been a little more question maybe for football, but I think pretty good NIL support, and you're really starting to build something up. And I do think BYU will be pretty good this year. So they are close. Number 5, I'm going Iowa State. Iowa State last year, winning 11 games, breaking that glass ceiling that had never been broken in program history to get more than 9 wins, vaults them back into the top 5. When we're talking about caliber of coach, I mean, I think Matt Campbell has established himself as one of the absolute best in the conference, and he has now proven that his ceiling is higher than I thought it was. That is something I've got to take an L on. Used to always say, like, I think he's got a really high floor, but maybe not the highest ceiling in the world. He busted through what I thought his ceiling was last year. So he's one of only 3 coaches in this top 5, I'll go ahead and break it to you, that has played in multiple Power 4 conference title games. And I think his team is poised to be pretty good again this year. Really like building around Rocco Becht. But one thing I will say, his NIL support doesn't seem to be the greatest. I don't think Iowa State is you're going to find them in any top 10 lists for football or basketball, but he still churns guys out to the NFL. You know, I mean, a couple of second-round receivers this year who were drafted to a team that already has an Iowa State receiver on its roster. I mean, like they put guys in the league, whether or not you like the recruiting rankings. So I'm going Iowa State number 5. Number 4, this is one that if Arizona State is like shooting up, if BYU is shooting up, this is one on its way back down. It's taking the elevator down. That's Oklahoma State. The 5 to 10 year criteria is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Believe me. But 5 of the last 10 seasons have been double-digit win seasons for Oklahoma State. 2 of the last 3, however, have been very disappointing. And so another disappointing year. And I mean, I think you're just dropping Gundy out of the top 5, perhaps for good. It would take a lot for him to jump back up there. And to be honest, if we're looking at what this year's prospects are, boy, you're telling me the quarterback's going to be Garrett Rangel or Haas Haney or Zane Flores. I don't know about that, man. I don't know that I feel great about what Oklahoma State's going to be this year. Plenty of reason to question Gundy's effectiveness at this stage in his career, but I do have to respect quite a bit what he has done. And on the strength of that, we're going to ride through still with them in the top 5. Number 3 on the list, I am going with K-State. Kleiman's consistency is what earns this, because even as you have guys, like I know people will compare the Iowa State and K-State programs, which is totally fair. And if you're comparing the 2 coaches head to head, one of them has very clearly gotten the better of the other, and that's Matt Campbell. But there have been more dips there. There have been more dips. And Kleiman, I mean, each of the last 3 years, he has been legitimately in the Big 12 title conversation, and he won one of those Big 12 titles. It's a 4 straight year where everybody is going to predict them to be in the mix again. If you're talking about 4 straight years where like you're a legitimate factor in the Big 12 title race, pretty damn good as far as the consistency goes. And he's won at least 8 games every single year he's been at K-State, minus the COVID season, which again, wonky. K-State also had a season-ending injury to Skylar Thompson at quarterback that year. There was a lot going on. Kleiman's recruiting has improved throughout his time in Manhattan. He's done a very good job in the portal. I think they've done a really good job with the portal class this year. K-State has been well publicized, has pretty good NIL support. That has not always turned into wins. Basketball, looking at you. But they have very good NIL support. So Kleiman consistency, a team that looks like it's going to be pretty good this year, improving recruiting and good NIL support. There's just a lot of consistency there. I do think you would have to include them in the top 3. Now, here's one that's probably going to surprise some people, especially because I didn't see much of this team at all in the 40 or so responses that I got on Twitter. But TCU is number 2 for me. Sure, there were some gasps out there at that. Look, I'm not the biggest Sonny Dykes believer, but the guy did play for a national championship a couple of years ago and then won 9 games this past year. He's averaging 9 wins a season at TCU, with 1 phenomenal season, 1 bad season, and 1 pretty good season. But he is at the helm of a team and a program that I would say has shown over the last, well, basically in the Big 12 era, TCU's Big 12 era, right? Since they joined the league 2012, TCU has had the highest upside of anybody in the conference. Like, they have played for a national championship. They have 4 11-plus win seasons since joining the Big 12. You got to respect that. Like, the ceiling that they have as a program and the ceiling that they have achieved under Dykes as the head coach there. They're in a geographically advantageous place to put together a program when you're talking about talent acquisition. I know so much of it is money these days, but The location is definitely going to help you be in proximity to guys that, want to come home to Texas. Seems to have solid to good NIL support. Certainly does not appear that it's bad. So I think there's a lot to like there for TCU. You've got to respect what that program has done. And now we've arrived at number one, and this is the one. This is the one that'll make a lot of people upset. As if, I haven't upset enough people along the way here. But I am going to give Utah the nod at number one for now. But as much upward mobility as Arizona State and BYU have, I think there's as much downward mobility for Utah here. Because what I am doing is respecting the absolute hell out of the previous decade. I am respecting the absolute hell out of the coach in Kyle Whittingham here. And I am being very gracious and forgiving for the Cam Rising injury situation over the last 2 years, which, yes, very, very well could have been handled better by them. Probably put too many eggs in that basket, particularly last year. And they do need to wear some of that. But I am a big believer in Utah bouncing back this year and being a legit Big 12 title contender. And if they do that, man, I mean, you're tacking that on to 7 of the last 11 seasons being 9+ wins, a couple of Rose Bowls, 4 10+ win seasons in that time span. They have been very, very good at the Power 4 level and incredibly consistent when they have had any level of healthy quarterback play. And the last couple of years, I would suggest to you that's some bad luck. And, even if Devin Dampier is a guy that runs around a lot, they should be bound to have better luck injury-wise at quarterback this year, I guess, knock on wood, Utah fans, than what they have had. So I will just barely give the nod to Utah based on that. But honestly, like the top three, I think those are all just so close. And then, even like BYU and Arizona State, it kind of kills me to leave them out at the back end. And I know I saw a Texas Tech fan earlier talking about, hey, Texas Tech needs to be in the top three. I mean, that's another one where think about the whole scope of the landscape of college athletics, right? This year we know that Texas Tech has a ton of money and that Texas Tech got the number one portal class because of that money. We don't know that they will be able to do that next year, even if they are willing and able, because theoretically the House settlement gets approved, then it's going to have to be fair market value NIL deals. And you can't just use Cody Campbell's money like they're fun coupons. Shout out to Leo, and throw it at every single player that you want to get every good player that enters the portal the entire time the portal's open. So this is really like a 1-year window for that. And Texas Tech, I mean, last 5 to 10 years, their last 5 to 10 years doesn't actually stack up to any of these teams very favorably. So too much outside of just the money for this 1 year to be desired for Texas Tech to put them on that list. If we knew that it was going to be a wild, wild west world, then you would get more consideration. I still don't think it's fair to put them in the top 5 though, because I think Joey seems to be a good coach. I don't know that he's at the caliber of most of those guys that are already up there. And probably Sonny Dykes, but other than that, I think the other coaches there are more proven. So I understand why you would throw Tech there, but I think it's a very important caveat to raise that the money thing may only really matter this year, being that they will get to use that to their full extent.